I would like to introduce you our next presenters, who are Claire and Angie Thurston. Are you there? Claire, are you ready? Angie? Claire?
You're here.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you. Excellent. Let me introduce you briefly. Claire and Angie Thurston are a mother-daughter team in the United States. They are working together on an initiative to support young people to connect to their top adjusters and contribute to the Supreme. Claire is on the board of Urantia University Institute, and Angie helps to lead the Progress Project, a spiritual growth network. Creativity and beauty are important in both of their spiritual lives. Thank you very much, Claire and Angie. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you to all of you for taking time out of your days to be here in this amazing space. And thank you to the UAI and to Chris for creating this space. It's a real joy to see all of you. And I will just say by way of welcome and introduction that for the two of us in these tumultuous times, the most vital thing we could think of to do with the space that we have together for this hour was to be with Michael together. And so that is what we propose to do. And my mom is going to kick us off.
Yes. Hi. Greetings, everybody. It's good to remember that Jesus said, when 2 or 3 believers are gathered together, there am I in the midst with them. So we welcome Michael to be with us. He's here with us in spirit, and he can be with us virtually, just like we are with each other virtually. And as Angie mentioned, right now, we feel like the world is in such a chaotic state. And it's really important to remember that Michael is actually in charge. He's the head of our local universe, and he's seen our planet go through a lot. And he knows everything that has happened to us and everything is currently happening to us. Just good to remember we have the best chief executive ever. And today we wanted to create space to experience the comfort of his spirit of truth.
So we thought we would start with a little virtual icebreaker here. And I know that some of you may be choosing to stay off of video for the duration, which we totally respect. If you are comfortable for this little icebreaker and want to turn on your video, if you have access to it, that will make it more fun for all of those who have that option. And I would also say for this opening, if you want to, you can change your view. If you currently have a speaker view, change it to the gallery view, which you can do up in the top right corner of your screen. You'll see a toggle, and if you click on it, you'll get a view of a whole bunch of people's faces instead of just our faces. So Jesus always said to be of good cheer. And for some of us during these times, that can feel like a struggle. So we want to just take a moment to support each other in that effort by making physical contact with our neighbors, being neighborly for a moment. So what I'd like you to do is try to make contact with as many of your neighbors as possible on the right and the left, and perhaps above and below, as a way of saying hello. So just to put your hands out and maybe your head up and your, yes, very good. And below, yes. So you can just like say hello to the person down there, and the person over here, and the person over here. Maybe there's someone up there. And say greetings. You could turn over to the side and wave at them. Hello. This is one of the great benefits of virtual space, is that we don't just have neighbors to our right and our left, but above and below as well, and in the corners. So say hello to your multi-dimensional neighbor. It's especially cool with you who have backgrounds. Like Paul Dean Anderson has like the entire world behind him, which is amazing. I see folks connecting from all over the world. I see someone saying that my sound is breaking up. I just want to see by a show of hands, go like this if you're having trouble hearing me.
Sounds good.
It sounds good. Okay, great. All right, well done, well done. Way to say hello. So now we wanted to add another participatory element, which we'll do in the chat. So if you're not familiar with the Zoom chat feature, you'll see at the bottom of your screen, there is a button that says chat. And if you click on that button, you should get a pop-up that opens up on the side of your screen where you can see people making comments. And so we're going to use that for just a minute here. So for both of us, for my mom and me, one of our favorite papers in the Urantia book is the paper about the apostles. And one of the things we love in that paper is how it describes what each of the apostles loved about Jesus. You'll remember that Andrew loved Jesus's consistent sincerity and unaffected dignity, right? Peter was moved by his supernal tenderness and forbearance. James loved his sympathetic affection, his understanding interest in the small and great, rich and poor, right? And it goes on of each of the apostles and much about them, but also much about what they loved about the master. So what we want to do is just take a moment for anyone who feels like it to share in the chat one quality that you love about Jesus. And we don't have to be limited in this, but maybe particularly think about today and in this kind of moment that we're going through as a planet and that you're going through as a person in light of everything happening that's leading us to all be here on Zoom today instead of doing anything else in our lives. What's a quality you love about Jesus that's really speaking to you today? And so just take a moment to put that in the chat box, and you can then look at what everybody else is writing about Jesus here. I'll just lift up a few of these. We love Jesus's listening, his devotion, how he sought out those who were downcast, his kind patience, his living truth, that he assured us that all will be well. What does it matter if all earthly things crash? For we have the ability to abide in his love. His understanding, his willingness and courage to be the truth for all, his presence when needed, his way with words, right? He always knew the words to say, to soothe, comfort those in his midst, his humility and selflessness, the fact that he is both personally present and has sent the Spirit of truth to give us that access to his presence. His personal love for each individual, his leadership, his graciousness, his power and his humor. These are beautiful. Yes, Jeannie. Okay.
Sorry, I was saying hello to the children of Chris.
Oh, good. Oh, hi, yes. We can see Chris's children. Hi. So we want to carry these qualities that were manifest. These are qualities of Michael, right? That were manifest during his bestowal here on Urantia as Jesus. And we want to carry our awareness of these qualities and our love of these qualities of Michael into our time today. So I will turn it to my mom.
So what we're going to enter now is a time of a guided remembrance supper. And a lot of us have experienced remembrance suppers in churches or other institutions, but we really have the freedom and invitation to be creative with it, and no time like the present. So we're going to try something new today. And just a little background, in the Urantia book, we learn that the Remembrance Supper is the believer's symbolic rendezvous with Michael. And that when we become spirit conscious, the Son is actually present and his spirit fraternizes with the indwelling fragment of his Father. So let's bring our consciousness to Michael so that his spirit can commune with the Father fragment within each of us. And Jesus reminded us that you must abide in me and I in you. If you abide in me and my words live in you, you'll be able to commune freely with me. And then can my living spirit so infuse you that you may ask whatsoever my spirit wills, and do all this with the assurance that the Father will grant us our petition. So let's focus first on this idea of abiding in Michael. What does that really mean? And he didn't say believe in me, he said abide in me. And the first part in my mind is this feeling of being completely safe. It's like when you come inside your house and you can leave the rest of the world, behind. You're completely protected from the external world, which is very important in this time when our external world is a pretty scary place. And of course, he's our Father and our brother. But then this idea of communing, and where we can literally, in abiding in Jesus, we have the opportunity to literally infuse his spirit into our being. So that is an amazing gift. This is something open to us. Ange?
All right, so we're going to take some time with this so you can get settled. We are here at the feast together, the feast of all believers, present with Michael across space at this moment in time. And so if you want to, you can close your eyes or you can keep your eyes open to be present with those in this space together. But we're really going to take each of these facets one by one. So, Michael, we invite your presence in our midst. We know that we abide in you. You are our protector, our father, brother, leader of our planet and our universe. Each of us, children of the same loving God who you revealed by coming here and living a life among us. Your life showed us that we abide in you. Michael, today together we also remember that you abide in us. The qualities that we so love that you revealed in your earth life. These qualities abide in each of us through your spirit. Michael, we give thanks in times such as these that your spirit, your presence, your mercy, kindness, humility, humor, courage, your understanding, your listening, all of the qualities of those fruits of spirit that you poured out upon all flesh. That is abiding in us as we abide in you. And Michael, today, together, we remember that you are with us. You are alongside us, present with us, and communing with us as we commune with our Father. It is through this experience of remembering you that you fraternize with the indwelling God in us. We remember that you are with us and we are with you. Let's take a few minutes in silent communion, and then we'll close with a gesture that I'll share with you in a few minutes to make visible our communion experience. take a breath. If you'd like, you may open your eyes. First, we'll make a gesture of abiding in Michael. So we'll put our arms up for the experience of being held in that way. And of course, Michael, in union with the Mother Spirit, is holding us. We abide in their love. And then a gesture of our hands to our heart, that his spirit abides in us. Fraternizes with our thought adjuster. We are loved from within. And then we are together. We are with each other. So we can connect not only to this spirit presence we carry and that accompanies us, but also to each other, right? And then bring that in.
Well, as was true with the apostles and everyone else who got to know Jesus, once they came to know him, they just were possessed with the urge to want to share him with all of their friends. They really wanted all of the world to know him. And I thought we could end with two prayers. The first one for those on our planet who have no sense of spirit connection, who are struggling through this time. You know, we're so blessed to have this understanding and the sense of spirit with us, but there's so many people out there who don't have that. So I'd like to take a couple of minutes and just silently pray for all of those people on the planet who are distraught and struggling and have no sense of connection to spirit. So we'll just take a couple of minutes to send our prayers to those people who feel lost and unmoored by the current tragedy, and that they feel the comfort of Jesus even though they don't know him, that they feel and can sense the comfort of his presence. Just take a minute. Thanks. And then for the final prayer, just to have a prayer for the whole planet, remembering that this is Michael's planet and how connected we all are under his aegis. So just to say a prayer of connection for the whole planet, that they feel, even if we're all isolated and social distancing, that we can still feel connected to each other and wrapped in Michael's love. So we'll just take a moment for that. Now Angie will lead us in our final sense of community here.
Thank you, Mom. Yeah, so now we have some time together, and what we wanted to do was just open space for words from you, just about reflections you might have that you think the group would benefit from, connected to anything that you might have tapped into in that communion time, knowing that we're all we're all going through things right now. And so any words that you might offer of reflection, of insight, of comfort. Okay, now I'm going to get to practice calling on someone. Okay. I think, David, that you should be able to speak.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. You gave a talk within recent years somewhere out in the Midwest, and I watched this on YouTube, and I was extraordinarily impressed, and I want to be able to repeat the story, so correct me what I have wrong. You were a divinity student at Harvard, correct? Were you a graduate student?
Yes.
You were a graduate student, and you did a study, and in this study, you demonstrated that 4/5 of the people around the globe believe in God, but don't go to church. Now, is that around the globe, or is that in the United States?
Well, I think what you're referencing is just some statistics I probably cited in a presentation.
Yes.
I didn't prove them myself, but it was in the United States, just that the vast majority of people who are unaffiliated with organized religions still believe in some kind of higher power.
Well, I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. Bless your heart. It has motivated me to speak openly and plainly in public places. Just knowing that fact, I mean, there are ways that you can spread the truth that really connect with people. And it does. I went right out. I went to a convenience store and just started talking about, and everybody, there were about 6 people in the store, and they all just lit up and went, yeah. And I couldn't believe, Angie, if not for you and that little thing you went through at school, it wouldn't have, it motivated me to do that. It gave me an insight as to where our world is now. It was easy for Jesus to teach in his time because everyone was looking for spiritual truth. It's different. Our world is in chaos. You have to really feel who's around you and what's around you. So, you know, your work was extraordinarily helpful to me. And so bless your heart. Thank you. And thank you for this presentation. This has been wonderful.
Well, thank you for sharing that, David. And I'll just lift up in that, you know, I think it's part of the kind of fraternal quality of Michael's spirit, the way that maybe that's, Meredith, are you unmuted now?
Yes, I do.
Oh, why don't you share, and then I'll continue from there.
Thank you, David, for sharing that. I'm at the time of my life where I don't care what somebody thinks about my preaching, so to speak. And I'm very out front wherever I am to tell people about Jesus, about God. And I hope that, but aside from that, I love your topic. And while we were in one of those silent periods, a question came to me, and I wrote that question in the chat section, so I'll just utter it now. We are to abide in God, in Jesus, and He is abiding in us. But my question is, what does it mean when 2 or 3 are gathered together, he is there? What is the difference? He's here right now with all of us, whether we call him to be here, whether we invoke him to be with us. He is with believers. He's with everyone, but of course he has to be invited in. But for believers, is it not true that even when you're alone, he is there? You don't have to be with 2 or 3 other people? That's my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meredith. And I would love to hear others' perspectives on your very good question. I think I'll just say the first thing that comes to mind for me does pick up on what you shared, David, as well, and kind of what it brought to mind about this fraternal quality, the withness, like being with the accompaniment of Michael's spirit as a descendant of the eternal Son, that there's a quality of that spirit being with us that is particularly animated, I think, when we are with each other in communion. We can all be personally in communion, right, at any time with our Father through the thought adjuster, but that there is something special about being in communion together. And I think that's part of why Jesus lifted up this gathering, right? This, and not just a social gathering, but a communion, right? A gathering in which 2 or 3 or more are gathered in a worshipful way. That aspect of the divine spirit is able to function differently. I think there's a quality of Michael's spirit and of the eternal Son that he's descended from that is about that is about the way we are together, the way we are in relationship, that I think is particularly brought to life. Now, how that works, I'm sure there are many words about in the Urantia book, but it's still kind of mysterious to me. I see Marvin has his hand up.
Marvin has raised his hand twice.
Okay, great. Marvin, can you unmute yourself? Okay.
Sure. Just a few thoughts, and I'm loving the conversation. I'm loving everything you've done, and also thanks to Chris and Urantia Association for acting to take the forum, create the forum. 2 thoughts. One, this is Jesus' nativity sphere. He has some special feelings in association with our world, and I'm sure he's very involved, as are all his agencies, in the midst of this set of circumstances. And the other is exactly that. I mean, we have an angelic government with corps of angels working for our benefit, and I think they take advantage of crises like this to burgeon new spiritual developments and new spiritual reality. And I think this kind of conversation is part of that. I'm recognizing that this is the second time we've had large Zoom gatherings, initially in response, I think it was Avi's passing, but to this phenomenon of us beginning to pass on to the mansion worlds in our generation. And now in this crisis circumstance, we gather. So there are new things happening in our world that I think the angels are bringing about in the midst of crisis circumstances. They have their designs, and I'm not sure if they've anticipated this kind of situation, but they're certainly, I imagine, using it to the greatest benefit in keeping with Michael's purposes for our world. So just that thought.
Thank you.
Marvin, yeah, beautiful. That creative spirit is alive and well.
May I ask something?
Sure. Yes, this is Danielle.
I'm Daniel from Swiss, from Italian part of Swiss. I am so sad. In this moment, I know that in Italy the deaths are 794, and it is still 8 hours in the evening. So they will continue to die. And I hope you will help me to give a big prayer that who are dead and the family are accompanied by Jesus, by our prayer, because it's terrible to think. In only one day, more than 800 people will be died in Italy. And I am very sad that no one Italian is here with us, and maybe no one Swiss. I am Swiss, but I was married in Italy. I have 3 sons, one in Italy and 2 here in Swiss. But the moment is very difficult because by my person very near to me, the mom of a friend of my eldest son, who is a medicine doctor, died from corona. And this happened around me. Now I am in my home. For me, it's very good. I am so happy to have your good, vous êtes près de moi, you are near to me in this moment. And I ask your help to pray with me for all these days, today and next day, because it's not finished. Yeah.
Oh, Danielle, yes, I'm so glad that you are with us and we can be with you. And I would love to take a moment all together to pray. And let's all pray silently. And then also, if anyone would like to add their personal prayers in the chat, just to share with Danielle what they might be praying for, we can do that together. So let's just take a moment of silence together in prayer for the people of Italy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we will continue in prayer, Danielle. And I see some are writing prayers here as well that you can see in the chat. Yeah, Diane. I don't hear you as yet. Not yet. It says you're unmuted, but I don't hear you. Maybe we'll, if you try switching the microphone on the bottom. Not yet. Why don't, Diane, we'll turn to someone else but you can keep practicing or trying while we do, and hopefully it'll come through. Maybe Jeannie can text you to help you out.
Yes, Mark has raised his hand.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Jeannie. And I was listening to Angie and her presentation there, and also listening to Meredith's question. As you were talking, Meredith, I was thinking about the history of our planet and how lonely mankind must have felt it many, many times under many situations in the planet. And here comes a wonderful paradise creator son of God saying, I am with you. Just imagine how powerful that is, and could very well be increasing in power across the planet, knowing that he's right there So if you're alone as one, you still have a relationship, but when two people get together or three people together, I'm going to be right there with you people, enjoying your relationship with one another. I'm done.
I see Marion.
Thank you. Well, as tragic as all this has been, it certainly has brought out the best in people that are volunteering and that are helping. And there is a silver lining. The canals of Venice have never been so clean. There's less CO2s going into the air with all the restricted air travel. And I think the planet is taking a breath. We have been so hard on 606, especially in the 20th century. And as bad as it is for so many people, it's actually kind of a good moment ecologically. And it's kind of, we can kind of at least be thankful for that we have this moment of pause in the Industrial Revolution, so to speak. So there is some good coming from this. I think there's a lot of good that's going to come from this. And thanks to the scientists and to the doctors, the nurses, all the healthcare workers, all the people that are still getting food to the supermarkets. I think that we're going to pull through this. We've pulled through lots of bad things. And anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Marion. Diane, I still don't think we hear you. Okay. We'll wait one moment just in case. Danielle, I want to make sure you can see the chat because I know you're not on video. Can you see what people are writing?
I think
You're
also
muted, Danielle, but I'm hoping that you can.
Marilyn had her hand up for a while.
Great. Let's hear from Marilyn.
So what came to me in the meditation when we were reaching out to the people all over the world was the sense of the web. I often see the circuits of the Mother Spirit, and I've wondered if they crisscross. Just kind of imagine what we know about mycelium under the soil, and that we are that connected through spirit. And then when Meredith gave her question about wondering about where there two or more are gathered, maybe the spirit of truth works in the connections. Maybe the spirit of truth is working in all those relationships. And then when Danielle so poignantly focused us with the people that have been dying in Italy, and particularly the doctors that have recently died there, I mean, my sense was, it's like at that point, Danielle becomes like, you know how the mushrooms pop up in various places. At that point, Danielle, for us, you were the focus, you were the place that we could go through your heart, your tender heart, and send those prayers and then let them go out into Italy and around the world. And maybe that's part of what the Spirit of Truth is doing. Illuminating those kinds of connections.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I know that Dana has had his hand up.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, Marilyn said so beautifully. What I wanted to say. Thank you, Danielle. because real human feeling, whether it's joy or pain, is that mushroom, is that way that we make contact with each other, with spiritual forces, with Michael. And so I thank you, Danielle, for sharing that pain, grief, and I feel joy in that same moment. You know, it made me think of what Jesus said, this world is a bridge. We're just walking across it. And some of us are getting to the other side sooner than others. But thank you all, and thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, Dana. Diane, we'll try once more just in case. Sadly, no. Okay. Maybe you can send something through in the chat to us. I think we have
I've seen
time for-
Bo's hand is up.
Go for it, Mom.
No, I see that Bo's hand is up.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that this is reminding me of is one of the things that one of the lines, the gospel lines that the Urantia book extols is as one of the important lines that Jesus said is the kingdom of God is within you. And that's actually there's a sort of contestedness to the translation of that. You'll see in some translations, it'll be the kingdom of God is within you. And then in some translations, it reads, the kingdom of God is in the midst of you. And, you know, all true love is from the Father. The reality of all true relational love is from the Father. And it's transmissional and relational, like we experience it through sharing. So on the one hand, there I am in the midst of you whenever we're gathered in a group and we're in communion, we're transmitting and sharing in that pure love. So the Son is literally present there. And then on an individual level, when we're attuned to it through a conspiracy of all of these divine forces that are inside of us, whether it's the spirit of truth, our adjuster, our soul, you know, fraternizing through worship in a relationship with the universal Father. You know, there's just the moment that that relationship is activated, the ever-present quality of God's presence, you know, we're enveloped in the material and spiritual reality of God being ever present all the time. But the moment that that's manifested in our consciousness and our adoration of the Father, then we realize that, and that relationship becomes present. So in a marvelous way, we get to, when we're all gathered together, we get to share in the actuality of God's love and the Son being present with us all right now. But on an individual level, Jesus and the universal Father are always already with us. But whenever we establish that connection through worship, we just get to experience it more directly. So it's all there all the time. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
We are in the last 5 minutes of this is our break for rest and do whatever you want. But we have Rolf waiting. Rolf, if you can just use 30 seconds to
Okay,
say.
yes. Just a very brief note. Angie, first, it's great seeing you again. Concerning the comment about Jesus being in the midst of 2 or 3 people, you know, the Urantia book tells us 3 different places that because of our personality and its characteristic creativity, that when people are together, that when they're together in the same spirit, and this comment says in Jesus' name, which of course indicates that they are in the same spirit, that there is of course a spiritual unity, but the effectiveness of the number of people is actually the square of the number together rather than the arithmetic summation. So I think that simple group dynamic that we're told about just may be a significant factor in this statement that was made.
Such
Thank
a
you.
good reminder. Thank you, Ralph. I love that. I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. We're excited by the reminder. Well, thank you so much. For me, my mom and I are on screens next to each other, so I'll raise my hand. Mom, you can raise your hand. And oh no, we'll hear both of them, so we can hold hands and be like, yay.
Michael is here with us.
Thank you all for spending this time, and it's a real joy and balm to us as well to get to be with you.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you, Claire, Angie. Wonderful, wonderful communion and wonderful teaching.